That DIY Headless Horseman costume you've been planning all year is on point. But is your DIY home security? Upgrade your safety game this season with ADT's DIY home security systems. They're reliable, easy to set up, and offer remote assistance if you need help. So while you're out winning that costume contest, ADT will have things covered at home. Just remember, when the lights go off, the alarm should go on. Visit ADT.com or call 1-800-ADT-ASAP. When every second counts, count on ADT.
I turned off news altogether.
I hate to say it, but I don't trust much of anything.
It's the rage bait.
It feels like it's trying to divide people.
If we got clear facts, maybe we could calm down a little.
NBC News brings you clear reporting. Let's meet at the facts. Let's move forward from there. NBC News, reporting for America.
Never start your meal with a carbohydrate. Always put the carbohydrate at the end of your meal.
Well, okay, so breadbasket fans.
Or the tortilla chips.
The tortilla chips are a killer.
We can literally reverse your progression towards diabetes just by changing some habits.
Unbelievable.
There needs to be a lot more education to our doctors, but it should also be to the general public. Why don't we learn in high school the science of health? If you do those two actions, open your windows, put an air purifier in your work and your bedroom, you've detoxified 90% of the air you're breathing. The work you put in today financially leads to a bigger bank account so you can enjoy your life later. The work you put in today for your health leads to a bigger bank account of health so that you can enjoy life later. We need both of those bank accounts full.
Do the NSAIDs, do they really hurt the gut and gut lining as much as it's purported?
Absolutely.
Oh, no.
Oldish. The art of knowing more and caring less. With your host, Randy Spelling, Brian Austin Green, and Sharna Burgess.
Today's guest is more of a cheat code rather than an interview. He's a surgeon performing thousands of surgeries, and he went on a mission to lose 50 pounds and heal himself with a belief that the best type of surgery is one that you never need to have. There is so much noise and hype in the social sphere of everything that's going to kill you and the millions of supplements you need to take that change from month to month. We're going to cut through the hype and look at the simplest things that you can do right now to create a healthier life. Dr. Darshan Shah, welcome to Oldish.
This is such a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yes, thank you for coming. So good having you here. I said this beforehand, there's so many different areas that we can talk about. I want to go back to your origin story of getting into medicine. You have been a surgeon. You've done 20,000 surgeries. What got you from doing those surgeries to then veering to this other type of medical practice?
Yeah, such a great question, and thank you for asking. I was a product of the Western medical system, and what I mean by that was I went to a traditional medical school. I graduated from medical school, did a residency, and I trained in how to take care of very sick people. Specifically, I did general surgery and trauma surgery. You know, when you're in an emergency room in trauma care or you're under the knife for general surgery, you're pretty sick. You're as sick as it gets, right? Yeah. People are not going under the knife for fun, right? And so I saw the worst of the worst, and Western medicine was incredible. Like I was very deeply trained in how to save people's lives, you know? And I fully respect that time of my education, of my career. But I had spent 25 years in that, and all I saw was an endless stream of patients. And there was always someone to do surgery on. And not only was there always someone to do surgery on, it was just more and more and more. We weren't winning the battle against illness. We weren't winning the battle against cancer. I also did reconstructive cancer surgery. It's just exploding. It's becoming worse and worse. And I saw this with my own eyes. And yes, I was super busy. And the way the incentives are set up in Western medicine, I made a lot of money. The more surgeries I did, the more money I made, right? But I got tired. And I myself became sick from all of the things that happen to us when we're working hard. We put ourselves at the bottom of our priority stack. We just eat the same garbage that's, in front of us on TV all the time, that's marketed to us. And we become sedentary because we're just working all the time, right? And go home and we're on Netflix and on, Apple TV, and because you're tired and all of that. I was a victim of all of that. So I became very obese. I had multiple medical diagnoses, high blood pressure, diabetes, autoimmune disease, and I was on a handful of medications. So even being a product of this medical system where I had incredible amounts of deep knowledge, I got board certified in surgery, I had taken many other courses in medicine, I did not know how to get myself healthy. I knew why I was on these prescriptions. I knew what other potential medications were available to me, but I didn't know how to reverse all of this. There's no talk about disease reversal in Western medicine.
Right.
Yeah.
It's very much focused on here's the problem. Here's a solution to keep that problem at bay,
Exactly.
but it doesn't go to the root cause at all.
Right, exactly. And I didn't even know what those root causes were because I only had maybe an hour, if at all, of nutrition education.
An hour of nutritional education.
Oh yeah, exactly. Or less. Basically we learned nutrition through the lens of here's what severe vitamin deficiencies cause you, like scurvy, right? I don't know, right. I've never seen a person with scurvy in my life, but I had to know about what it was. But we were never taught about what are the problems with ultra processed food? Why is generalized nutritional deficiency, why does it exist, and why does it affect our health? Why does sedentary behavior affect our health? We never talked about that in medical school because there's not much you can do at it as far as a surgery or a pharmaceutical goes, right? So we didn't really learn about it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Is that changing at all now or not yet?
Very slowly is it changing. It's mind-blowing to me how slowly it's changing. It just does not make sense. We know what the solution is, and we're not teaching it in our medical schools. So there are some progressive medical schools. I just heard the Walton family is opening a medical school in Arkansas that is focused fully on first educating physicians on functional root causes of disease, which is incredible. But I think there needs to be a lot more education. And the education should be to our doctors, but it should also be to the general public. Why don't we learn in high school the science of health, right?
Yes.
Or even grade school. We should be learning this as a month of our science courses from the minute we start getting into science, from grade school to high school, and then our professionals should be educated on it as well. Because it is a science. Our bodies are complicated, and we need to learn about why these things work and how important they are. And then I think we can completely reverse this overwhelming tide of chronic disease in our country.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So go back to your story, and you were obese.
Yes.
You were on all these prescription medications. Then what happened?
So I do what a lot of people do. I went and hired the best doctor I could find. I paid, I think, something like $20,000 for a Beverly Hills concierge medicine doctor. And I went to see him, and I thought, okay, this is, I'm going to throw some money at this problem. I'm going to get myself in a good place again. And I saw him, and after doing a bunch of tests on me, he's like, good news, I have 3 new medications I can put you on that'll really keep your problems at bay.
More of the same.
Yeah, more of the same. And so I decided at that point, I don't want to take any more medications. In fact, I need to get off of all of these things. I'm having side effects. I'm not feeling good. I don't feel any sense of energy or vitality, none of that. And so I then learned about nutrition. I knew nutrition was at the core of my problems because I was eating garbage all day long. And so I took a course in nutrition. I thought, I'm a doctor. I should learn about nutrition. It can't be that hard. Took a course in nutrition, and it completely changed my entire thought process. I learned that not only is nutrition fundamental for our survival, but it's also fundamental for us feeling good, feeling great and under our skin. And so I completely changed my eating pattern, not even the number of calories, just the pattern of eating. And I got better. I lost some weight. I got off some of my medications. And then I was like, you know what? A lot of these nutritionists keep talking about exercise. So, I'm going to go see a trainer. So I saw a trainer. I thought he was really cool, really knew a lot. Like, I'm going to learn about how to become a trainer. So I took my trainer certification course, And I learned about exercise for the first time in my entire medical career of 30 years. And I started exercising, and it completely changed me even further. And then some of the trainers and the nutritionists that I was talking to talked to me about functional medicine. And this was something brand new about 15 years ago. And I was like, oh, that's interesting, root cause medicine. And so back then I took a course in functional medicine. It was one of the first courses in functional medicine. It was by doctors for doctors. And man, that completely changed my life, because now I finally thought about my hormones. I finally thought about my toxic exposure. I finally thought about my stress levels and how all of these interplay into my health. And I put a little bit of functional medicine into my life, as I like to say. And within 8 months, I was off almost all my medications. I had lost 50 pounds, completely eliminated my autoimmune disease and my diabetes, and I felt amazing. And so I started also talking to my patients about this, my surgical patients, not because I thought I was doing anything miraculous, but because they started asking me, Dr. Shah, you look so different than when I first saw you 3 months ago. What are you doing?
What are you doing?
Right. And so I told them, you know what, you should look at what are you eating and what are you exercising? What do you do at the gym? I talked to them about you should get your hormones checked. And they did. And they got better, and they started canceling their surgeries, which I was good. This is what we want. Not everyone needs surgery. It's much better to just get healthy and then not need surgery.
Absolutely.
And then I was like, this is incredible. This is the kind of medicine I want to practice. So I wound down my surgical career and picked up my functional medicine, root cause medicine career.
So what did you start seeing when patients started coming to you?
Yeah.
What did you start seeing from patients who said, hey, here's what's going on?
Yeah. I would say a lot of people that I saw, patients that I saw, had a problem, and they saw many doctors, and it was a confusing array of different possible diagnoses, okay? And so a lot of people have this same issue. You go see a doctor and you're like, I'm tired all the time. I have brain fog. I get migraines. I'm bloated. And your doctor's like, well, let me send you to a gastroenterologist. Let me send you to a neurologist for your migraines. Let me send you to, a cardiologist for your palpitations in your heart. And then you see all these different doctors, and they give you medications, and you never truly arrive at why are you feeling bad? Why are you having all of these different problems? But then when you go down to the root causes and you work on all of those myriad of problems start going away together at the same time, right? And so what I would tell my patients is look, I know you're having all these issues. I know you don't have a clear diagnosis and you're on a lot of medications. Let's just forget about that. Let's not try to make a diagnosis. Instead, let's get to what are you eating? When are you eating it? How are you sleeping? How are you moving? And let's work on those things first. And it's just miraculous. Once you focus your energies there, from a medical standpoint, what a difference it can make.
It's a conversation that needs to be had more and more. So eating, sleeping, movement. Let's talk about those three.
Sure, let's do it.
Eating. There is so much noise out there, so much confusion.
Right.
What would you say if someone said, doctor, what do I eat?
Yeah.
Where do I start?
It's such a great question. And the reason why there's so much confusion out there is two reasons. And, I totally get it. People have paralysis by overanalysis of the information, and they're like, forget it. I'll just eat whatever,
Yeah.
And whenever in anything in medicine, maybe even in life, whenever you hear two different people shouting from the rooftops a completely different opinion, you need to be carnivore. No, you need to be vegan. It's because every single one of us is an N of one. What I mean by that is you're an individual biology, and there's this thing in medicine called a bell-shaped curve when we do research studies. So imagine a graph, and the line on the graph looks like the shape of a bell. And what that is, it means if you do a study on 1,000 people and you plot their results on a graph, they will fall somewhere along these bell-shaped curve, meaning in the middle of the curve, you'll see the most effect. And then to the far right and the far left of the curve, you'll have people that are having a different effect, okay? And this is exactly why a carnivore diet works extremely well for some people And a vegan diet works extremely well for some people. But for some people, carnivore diet makes them very sick, and a vegan diet makes some people very sick. And whenever you hear people get like religious about their opinion about what you should eat, it's because different things work for different people. And you got to figure out for yourself what's going to work for you. And so the way to do that is to try different things and see where you feel the best. See where you are achieving your body composition goals that you want to achieve, and see where, maybe you're measuring some blood tests, some biomarkers, which I think are really important, and see where those are ending up as well. And then when you find a diet that gets all those kind of going in the optimal direction, that's the right diet for you, right?
Right. It's very interesting because in a way, what you're talking about is gathering data. And there's a difference of being in an echo chamber where you're hearing either what you want to hear or listening to social media and hearing many different people tout many different things.
Exactly.
But looking at how do you feel, how are you functioning, and how are your markers in your blood panels looking? Exactly.
And you want to talk a little bit more about the markers in your blood panel? Because I think that's an important topic.
Yes.
I'm a big believer of each individual also becoming the boss of their own biology. And what I mean by that is if you're the boss of a company, right? And you're running a company and you're not looking at your revenue, you're not looking at your profit, you're not looking at the number of employees you have, you're not looking at numbers, what do you think is going to happen to that company? It's going to fail, right? You need to look at the numbers. Unfortunately, as humans, we've given up that agency over our numbers to the Western medical system. We basically outsourced all of our numbers to somebody else that we think understands them better than we do, right? And the reality of the situation is that we're all smart human beings. If I were to give you your numbers, you would, number one, try to understand what they meant. And number two, you'd follow them more frequently to know what direction they're headed. And if something was off, you would want to try to correct it, right?
Right, yes.
Like we all do that for our weight, which is probably the worst number we could be following, for most people. But there's so many numbers that we have on our health that we have just given up agency over. And so what I try to do with my patients is empower them with 5 to 10 numbers that I think are critical for every human. And once they understand what those 5 to 10 numbers are, what the optimal range is, not just the disease range, they can start checking these a little bit more frequently and try to get them headed in the right direction. And that's what's incredibly important. And all my patients, I encourage them to understand these biomarkers of their health and to take agency over them yourself. You need to have personal responsibility for your own numbers because no one else is going to care more about your health than you will. And then once you get that knowledge, and it doesn't take that long to get that knowledge, you have a completely different health trajectory.
Yes.
Yeah. I wish someone had told me that when I was, in my 20s or 30s. And I was a doctor and no one had told me this.
Well, it was kind of taboo, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it feels, and I could be wrong here, but this is just an opinion. It feels like everything was set up to not have agency over your health, that doctor knows best. What I have found, and I think there's some incredible doctors out there.
For sure.
The medical system, I think, needs some work, but also people go into this to help people to do the right thing. Right?
Absolutely, yeah.
And I think there's a lot of distrust out there where very quickly it could become they are bad. And it's like, well, no, I don't believe that. However, it seems that there's this setup where you go over the panel. It's like, oh, everything's kind of in range. Maybe it's a little low. It looks fine. And that is just sort of a check mark. What you're talking about is really examining what the range is for disease. But if something is still at the bottom of that range, maybe that particular data point might cause you to examine that further. Right?
Exactly. That's exactly right. I'll give you an example. Okay. There's a number called hemoglobin A1C. Have you ever heard of this? Familiar with it? Okay.
Yep.
So 90% of Americans have metabolic disease. Metabolic disease is the inability to control our blood sugar level effectively with the amount of insulin that's coming out of our pancreas. Why is this important? Well, the end result of metabolic disease is getting diabetes, metabolic syndrome, you get obesity, you get a higher risk of heart attacks, higher risk of Alzheimer's disease, higher risk of cancer, all the things that you don't want, right? So not getting to the point of having metabolic disease is what should be our number one priority. 90% of Americans, however, have metabolic disease right now because they don't know until it's too late, until they get diagnosed with diabetes. The number that we use to diagnose you with diabetes is hemoglobin A1C. This is a 3-month average of your blood sugar level. So we can tell with one blood test what your blood sugar has been for the last 3 months. If that number is 7, you get diagnosed with diabetes. If it's 5.7, you get diagnosed with prediabetes. Now, most of the time, most doctors won't tell you it is abnormal until it's 5.7 or above. But it took you 2 to 3 decades to go from 5 to 5.7. So wouldn't you want to know when it went to 5.3, 5.4, 5.5? And then wouldn't you want to adjust your eating patterns to get it back going down towards 5.2, 5.1, 5.0, right?
Yes.
If you knew that number and why it was important and how that number going up could lead to an early death from all of these different causes, you would take agency over it and fix it.
So fall has this sneaky way of showing up. It really does. Like one day it's iced coffee and sandals, and the next it is, why are my feet getting cold?
Right? So
Right?
cold, especially my toes. You know what it means to me is that it's time to break out my new Bombas Higher socks. They are warm, they're cushy, and honestly, they're the only socks that I'm going to be wearing this season.
Well, okay, I just got the new Bombas slippers last week. Oh my gosh, they are ridiculously comfortable. I don't really want to leave the house once they're on type comfortable.
That's it, man. They really do. Like the merino wool that keeps you cozy without overheating, the Supima cotton that actually breathes, that thick rag wool. That's the kind of sock that feels like hot chocolate. It's like hot chocolate by the fire.
Yes,
Delicious.
it totally is like that. And you know, it really feels good when you remember that every purchase means Bombas donates an item to someone experiencing homelessness. That's over 150 million items so far and counting.
Which means that while we're staying warm, someone else is staying warm too. I mean, I just feel good knowing that.
Definitely.
They have this happiness guarantee too. Like it means that if for any reason it's not a perfect fit, they're going to make it right, which is crazy. It's no hassle, no stress.
Honestly, though, you're probably going to just want more.
That's true.
Yeah, it's true. You guys should head to bombas.com/audio and use code audio for 20% off your first purchase.
That's BOMBAS.com/audio.
Code audio for 20% off your first purchase.
Bombas, they're more than just socks.
Rain-X wipers are the #1 wiper blades in America. That means all kinds of drivers choose Rain-X. Big drivers in small cars choose Rain-X. Small drivers in big cars choose Rain-X. Drivers with long hair and short commutes choose Rain-X. Drivers with short hair and long commutes choose Rain-X. Drivers with pets on board, babies on board, and bored babies on board choose Rain-X. Basically, drivers who love a clear view of the road all choose Rain-X wipers, the #1 wiper blades in America.
Absolutely.
Right.
So if someone comes to you and says, here's my panel, you run tests, and someone is, they're at 5.7 or higher, what do you recommend they eat? And what do you see the effect being because of it?
Great question. Okay, so anyone that's 5.7 or higher, they're getting too much sugar and carbohydrate into their diet. Okay, so we need to lower the amount of carbohydrates and lower the amount of sugar in their diet. The second thing that we have to do, which has a lot to do with your blood sugar levels, is get you moving more, especially after a meal. It's critical after a meal to go for a walk, especially dinner time. 10, 15 minutes, it'll lower your blood sugar levels. The other thing that's critical is never start your meal with a carbohydrate. Always put the carbohydrate at the end of your meal.
Well, okay, so bread basket fans at dinner, the bread basket
or
comes,
the tortilla chips.
Or the tortilla. The tortilla chips are a killer.
I just tell the waitress, don't even bring them. If you start your meal with a fibrous vegetable instead, it will work wonders for controlling your blood sugar. And so there's a lot of little tricks and tips like this that you can use to completely change your trajectory towards metabolic disease and diabetes. There's one really great device that's out there called the continuous glucose monitor.
Mm-hmm.
Have you heard of this?
I have.
Yeah. And so what we do with our patients, if your your hemoglobin A1C is 5.5 or above, we put you on a continuous glucose monitor. I have you paired with a nutritionist so they can help you figure out how to get your blood sugar under control, explain what the readings mean. And within 6 weeks, we can turn this whole thing around.
Really? Within 6 weeks?
Yep,
That's
absolutely.
all it takes?
Yeah, within 6 weeks, we can literally reverse your progression towards diabetes just by changing some habits.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
What about cholesterol? I know that the lipid panel is very popular and everyone looks at those numbers. What do you see the lipid panel meaning in terms of, is LDL as bad as it's made out to be?
Yeah.
These higher cholesterol points, because I think it's about 200 and over starts to get into that not so good zone, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that old information or?
Okay. So most people, including doctors, are stuck in the 1990s with their knowledge of lipidology. And I hate to say this, and I think that we really need to re-educate the public on LDL. We should stop talking about LDL in reality. And the reason is because number one, there's a much better biomarker of your cardiac risk. It is called ApoB. The letters ApoB. This is a collection of all the bad forms of cholesterol. LDL, VLDL, LP(a). There's many of them out there. LDL is not the only one. And ApoB is a much better risk indicator than all those other ones. So you don't need the cholesterol panel anymore. Just ask for an ApoB, okay? Now, here's what I'll tell you about heart disease. We know that it's not just high cholesterol that leads to heart disease. There are a few other factors that progress you in that direction. And by heart disease, I mean your blood vessels of your heart getting clogged. It takes, number one, damage to your blood vessel wall. That happens by having high blood pressure, high levels of stress, even overtraining, and some genetic factors can cause it as well. Once the inside of your blood vessel gets damaged, then the cholesterol sneaks in, especially LDL, VLDL. And then once that happens, you get inflammation as well. So high levels of inflammation also lead to heart disease. So it takes a combination of these factors: poor metabolic health, inflammation, damage of the blood vessel wall, genetic risk, all of that together leads to heart disease. And so remember, cholesterol levels, ApoB, LDL, whatever have you, is a risk level indicator. It doesn't mean that you have heart disease. Okay?
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
Right.
So is there a marker for inflammation?
There is a marker for inflammation as well. I'm glad you asked. HSCRP, highly sensitive C-reactive protein. This is another blood test, very simple. By the way, all these blood tests are very available now and super cheap. You can get them yourself by just going to a blood testing laboratory like Quest or LabCorp. There's a company called Function Health that'll measure these and 1,000 other ones on you. And then there's like our clinics, we measure these for people. And they're not as expensive as you think. You can get a full panel for like $200. Okay?
Really?
Absolutely,
Okay.
yeah. And however, I will say though, your doctor should order these tests and your insurance should cover them too.
Mm-hmm.
So, what I like to give my patients that listen to my podcast, I give them this tool. It's a biomarker guide that I've created that they can download for free. And then they can bring this to their doctor and ask for these biomarkers. And it explains all of my top 10 biomarkers, why they're important, what's the optimal range, and what to do about it if you have a problem with them. So if you go to drshah.com/biomarkers, you can download this guide.
Great.
And
We'll put it in the show notes as well.
Yes. So inflammation, HSCRP, that's a marker of inflammation, and you want that as close to 0 as possible. Once it starts getting to 1 or higher, we have a problem. That means your immune system is overactivated. It is trying to fight something. We don't know what. And we got to figure out what it's trying to fight, because you don't want your immune system overactivated for a long time. Your immune system needs to be in a state of calm. And when it's in a state of overactivity, it's damaging normal cells as well as the thing that it's trying to get rid of. Okay.
So just to understand this, if the immune system is overreacting, then it's not only going after bad cells to try and clear them out, but it's actually going after good cells as well.
Exactly. That's why you see allergic kind of symptoms. For example, maybe you get rashes, maybe you get bloated. When it's attacking the cells of your brain, you get migraines, you get cognitive impairment and brain fog. All of that is due to many times immune system overactivation, which is also termed chronic inflammation. You've probably heard the term chronic inflammation.
Yeah. Can someone have chronic inflammation and not have that C-reactive marker?
Sometimes. But a lot of times when people have chronic inflammation, that HSCRP is high. Yeah.
Okay. So they kind of go hand in hand.
They kind of go. Another place where people, in medicine, anytime you have inflammation, it's called an itis, right? Gingivitis is inflammation of your gums. Colitis is inflammation of your colon. Gastritis, inflammation of your stomach. Dermatitis, inflammation of your skin. So anytime you have any itis, usually your HSCRP has gone to 1 or above.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And usually it's the opposite problem that's true. A lot of people have chronic inflammation and they have like these vague symptoms, like even tiredness, and they don't know what it's due from. And then we check their HSCRP and it's like 3, 4, or 5. And we're like, there's something causing inflammation in your body and we got to find what it is. Most of the time it's in the gut. Usually it's a gut inflammation that you don't know about due to your diet, due to your activity levels, due to even taking antibiotics or non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. There's some gut dysregulation to your microbiome is what's causing inflammation.
Do the NSAIDs, non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, do they really hurt the gut and gut lining as much as it's purported out
Absolutely.
there?
Yeah, they do. They're like a nuclear bomb to your gut.
Oh, no.
Are you taking some?
I do. Well, so I get migraines. I've had them since I was a little kid.
Yeah.
I used to take prescription medication, never felt good from it, so I stopped. But when I get a headache and it gets past that threshold point, it feels like there's a vice grip on my head. I can't function, so I have to take something.
Sure.
My choices, unless you tell me otherwise, are Motrin or Tylenol, and both don't seem incredible in terms of
they both have side effects to their drugs, right? One thing you could try is curcumin, specifically paired with papaverine, which is a pepper extract, and it increases the absorption of curcumin. I've seen that work really well for people with any type of pain, from back pain, headaches, those kind of things as well. But look, if you need it, you got to take it. What I would recommend is if you're taking non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, also take something to reform your gut bacteria. That includes maybe eating a live cultured yogurt, fermented foods. There's some probiotics out there that are good at reforming your gut bacteria. So whenever you have to take it, do something that's kind for your gut as well.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Gosh, there's so many rabbit holes that we could go down here. I'd love to talk a little bit about detox and detoxing our environment, and how I want to frame this for everyone who's listening and watching. I think that these conversations can very quickly move into overwhelm and move into fear that my environment, the foods that I take in, everything is out to get me. One thing I really respect and appreciate about you and your approach is you talk about this. It's not about being fearful of everything. It's about being empowered and making small adjustments for some relatively big results.
That's exactly right.
So where do we start with detoxing and what our environment is the things that are coming at us?
It's scary, right? Because all you hear about is, there's microplastics in everything, and there's glyphosate in my yard, and there's toxins in the air. And it's like, you give up because you're just like, they're everywhere. What am I going to do, right?
Right.
But the reality of the situation is you can mitigate 90% of the toxic exposure in your life by doing a few simple actions. And the rest your body can handle. Your body is an incredible detoxifying machine. It was built to do this. The problem is right now, unfortunately, our environment, depending on where you live and how you live, can overwhelm that system, right? But there's some things that you can do. So let's break it down for people very easily. And like you said, taking one action now and doing that same action every single day because you just have it as part of your routine, it adds up to massive results. A 1% change every single day adds up to a 3,400% change in a year. It's mind-blowing.
I love that statistic. Yeah. Just one thing. I can do that. I can do that one thing.
So let me give you a few things. Let's break down toxic exposure to air, water, food, and skin. That's where we're getting exposed to toxins. In the air, you want to obviously not breathe polluted air. How do you do that? Number one, when you're at home, if you check your iPhone on the weather app and it says the air quality index is in the green range, open your windows. The outside air, when it's in the green range, the air quality index is good, is much better for you than indoor air, okay? Secondly, if it's not in the green range, make sure you have a high quality air purifier around you. Mm-hmm. Where do you spend the most time during your day? Well, maybe for you it's the podcast studio and of course our bedrooms where we sleep, right? Those two areas should have a really good quality air purifier. And that's it. If you do those two actions, open your windows, put an air purifier in your work and your bedroom, you've detoxified 90% of the air you're breathing and you're clear.
That seems straightforward.
Yeah, pretty
doable.
Easy.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
And, once you get in the habit of opening the windows and turning on your air purifier, that's like a one-time thing, and then it's done for the rest of your life. And that's how these habits compound over time.
Okay. I mean, I can do that.
You can do that, right? You want to talk about your water next?
Yes. I'm nervous because I know that after hearing this, I'm probably going to have to go get something different than what I have, but absolutely.
Yeah, but here's the thing. You only have to get that thing one time. Then it's done.
True.
So here's what you need to get. You need to get a reverse osmosis water purification system that goes under the sink of your kitchen and a glass bottle. All right? And that's it. Now, I totally understand that, for some people, spending a lot of money on these things is difficult. However, I will tell you on Amazon, you can buy a reverse osmosis system, a very good one, for about $300 to $400. And then you can either install it yourself or have a plumber do it for about $150 to $200. So it's $500 expense. Glass bottle is whatever glass bottles cost.
Sure. And that's glass bottle instead of plastic because of plastic leaching.
Because of microplastics.
Now, what about tubes in houses? Because I know there's Wurzbo tubing now. We don't have copper pipes anymore because it's expensive. That's plastic. Does that plastic, especially with the hot water, does that leach into the water?
It can. It absolutely can. And that's why putting a reverse osmosis system under your sink will filter out those plastics even in the piping in your house.
Oh, wow.
Right?
Okay.
Because you're getting it right before it goes into your glass water bottle.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, if someone just has a refrigerator filter, let's say, carbon little filter, or they have something at their sink that's also filtering the water, is that not enough?
That's a good second option. That's better than what most people are doing. But I would say that, first of all, the refrigerator water filters, you really want to look at like Consumer Reports and check the quality of it and make sure you're replacing them often enough. But most of those filters are not as going to get you the same result as a reverse osmosis does. However, it's better than nothing for sure. What I would say in most places in America, you want to avoid drinking water straight out of the tap. The water system might be in your city, might be a problem, but also like you mentioned, it's also in your house too. What is the piping made out of?
Yeah.
How old is the piping? All of that kind of comes into effect.
Okay. Yeah. So a reverse osmosis machine, I think aren't there countertop type
There's countertop ones too. Yep.
Okay. So if someone doesn't have space under their sink.
Yep.
And what do you find this doing in terms of, let's say, the next 3 months I drink only reverse osmosis water, except when I'm out at a restaurant.
Yep.
What cumulative effect could that have on me?
So you've probably seen some of the news stories about how, we have a credit card's worth of microplastics in our brain. There's microplastics in the blood vessels of our heart. People are having problems with heavy metal toxicities all the time that lead to hormonal issues. There's other hormonal disrupting chemicals in our water, and so what you've basically done is filter out all of these issues from your day-to-day, and that adds up over time as well. And so it's just getting into these routines that add up to a cumulative effect over time. And think about how different that is with not being in the routine, right? So now you've filtered out all the microplastics, and so you have no microplastics in your water versus every day drinking microplastics.
Right.
Yeah, it's like a 180 change that you've made. And you might not feel it initially, although many people do feel it. But what a lot of people report after living a year of detoxifying their life, complete health changes, complete reversal of problems like leaky gut and bloating, brain fog, etc. I'm curious about your migraines as well. If maybe getting into some of these habits and routines will decrease the frequency and intensity of your migraines.
Yeah. I feel like these two things that you're talking about, yes, there's an expense to it. There's opening the window, there's no expense if the air quality is good. There is an expense, but like you said, it's one time.
Yes.
And then you get in the habit, you're drinking water regardless. So you're filling it up from the same place.
Exactly.
You don't have to it's not like a workout routine where you have to push yourself to do it. You're going to do it anyway.
Right. And it saves you money. Think about the number of plastic water bottles people are buying, right? Instead of buying that, just do this. And over time, you'll save the money. You'll make the money back,
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I like these two things. What's the other pillar?
Food. So a lot of times with our food, we don't realize this, but we're eating a lot of toxins. And the reason that we're eating a lot of toxins in our food is that it's put into our foods by the food companies in ultra-processed food. What is ultra-processed food? This is all the stuff at the center of the supermarket that comes wrapped in plastic with an ingredient label with a bunch of chemicals you can't pronounce, right? And so those chemicals are also deleterious to our health. They also disrupt your endocrine system. They also disrupt your nerve conduction pathways. And so if you could minimize the amount of ultra-processed food in your diet and eat instead whole foods, you're going to eliminate a lot of these toxins. Now, I understand too, you can't do that 100% of the time, but just having this little bit of knowledge, even just a small reduction can help. And, a lot of life is the 80-20 rule, right? If you can get it right 80% of the time, you're doing better than most.
I think that's fair, right?
Yeah.
That is achievable. So just to break this down, when you talk about processed foods, ultra-processed versus whole foods, let's just give some examples of what those are so people can really understand what does that mean.
Yeah. A whole food is basically something that doesn't have an ingredient label on it. Chicken, banana, broccoli, right? Those are whole foods. A ultra-processed food is a Twinkie or, deli meat that's in a plastic packaging. It's a box of cereal, for example. These are things that if you're going to try to cook it on your own at home, you wouldn't be able to make it because you don't even know what the ingredients are to begin with. Do you know how to make Captain Crunch?
No way.
Okay, good. Can you make a salad?
Yes.
Yes, exactly.
Very easily.
That's the definition of ultra-processed versus whole foods.
Got it. So the idea is the perimeter of the store, the fruits, the vegetables, the meats, try and stay there. I heard this term that I like because it's easy. Try to eat more single ingredient foods.
Exactly. That's a great way to think about it.
Same idea.
Yeah, exactly.
Anything else about food that is good to watch for, or a little switch that someone can do?
Yeah, absolutely. The other thing that I think people really need to be really cognizant of is white breads, white flour, anything that has refined grains in it. These have, number one, they're ultra processed, but number two, they're also like a punch in the face to our metabolic system, right?
Ouch.
Exactly. Yeah. Our pancreas is not happy every time we eat a white piece of bread or white pasta. It's because it's a huge glucose load into our body all at once. And unless you're like an endurance athlete on the 50th mile of your endurance run, eating straight carbs is never really a good idea for people with metabolic health abnormalities.
Okay.
Yeah.
We all love a legendary comeback, and Degree Original Cool Rush is back and better than ever. Cool Rush isn't just a scent, it's a movement, a fan favorite that delivers bold, fresh vibes and all-day sweat protection. Whether you have a man that spends hours in the gym, heads into the office early, or is just trying to stay fresh on a long day, Cool Rush has their back. Head to your local Walmart or Target and grab Degree Cool Rush, the fan favorite scent from the world's #1 antiperspirant brand.
This podcast is brought to you by Carvana. Carvana lets you buy your next car on your terms. Explore a massive inventory online, filter for what matters, and find your perfect match. Then choose delivery to your home or pick it up at one of Carvana's iconic car vending machines. Every car also comes with a 7-day money-back guarantee, so you can make sure it's the right fit. Buy your car on Carvana. Delivery or pickup fees may apply. Limitations and exclusions may apply. See our 7-day return policy at Carvana.com.
Carvana.
So I know people are listening to this going, oh, the bread. I just don't want to give up the bread.
And you don't have to. If you can eat it at the end of the meal, it's going to be a lot better for you than at the beginning of the meal. I actually just did this yesterday. I went out to a restaurant yesterday and I had I started off with the side of vegetables. I had asparagus to start with. The next thing I ate was my cut of salmon, and the last thing I ate was the amazing sourdough bread that this restaurant was making.
Does anyone that you're eating with or, the waiter, waitress coming over, do they ever say anything like,
I think they get it now. I think they see a lot of people doing this. I think there's a lot of talk about metabolic health thanks to people like Casey Means, who wrote the book Good Energy, Dr. Mark Hyman. By the way, if you want to learn how to eat, there's a great book by Dr. Mark Hyman, who's kind of the god of functional medicine, called Food, What the Heck Should I Eat? It'll take you 5 hours to read it, and you will understand kind of the problems with our food system and how to reverse them for you in your diet.
Great. I think that's helpful for a lot of people. You said sourdough.
Yeah.
Is there a difference between sourdough bread and white bread?
Oh, absolutely. Because sourdough bread is fermented. And so your gut bacteria loves fermented anything. And so it's like food for your gut bacteria.
So it really is. So if I'm eating a piece of sourdough bread, because there's fermented grains in it, that is actually feeding
our gut bacteria. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Probably the best kind of bread for you is sourdough or whole grains bread. And you have to be careful with both of those, though, because you have to look at the ingredient list, unfortunately. There's a lot of ones out there that they add a bunch of crap to it that they shouldn't be adding, and it's not real sourdough and not real whole grain.
Right.
Yeah.
That's why reading labels is so important. Yet I'm always amazed. Maybe I've just done this for long enough because I've had to. When you say, because personally, I don't eat gluten. I don't do well with it. I just know it's not a fad for me.
Right.
Believe me, if I could and felt good eating it, there are times that I absolutely would.
Oh, yeah.
However, it's amazing how many people go, oh, well, there's that. Just eat this, eat that. I'm like, no, I can't. And they'll say, oh, there's gluten in that or there's this in that. And people still don't read labels.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what you were talking about, is having agency over your own health.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I think a lot of people think that our government or some 3-letter agency is protecting us from bad things, right?
Yeah.
I think we live in a society where we think we pay our taxes, that must be going towards something to protect us, right? And it's such a fallacy in how we live our lives, right? We, as humans, we used to step out of the cave every morning and we watch out for the saber-toothed tigers. We would know which berries were poisonous, right? We don't do that anymore. We just assume when we go out, everything's going to be fine, right? And the reality of the situation is that's not true. There's no one protecting you. In fact, companies are allowed to dump chemicals into our environment with zero testing in the United States. And then you are not protected from that chemical until many people get sick, there's lawsuits filed, and finally it gets to the EPA, and the EPA does a study, and then they take it off the market. It's a 20-year process, okay? And so you have to take agency over knowing what these things are. You have to know where the saber-toothed tigers are. You need to know where they live, and you need to walk the opposite direction.
Wow. Just hearing you say that, is there data, are there studies that are done showing that that chemical is in fact safe for human consumption?
Not for most chemicals, no. That's why, the clothing that we have has like forever chemicals in it, PFAS, That's why microplastics are such a huge problem. Microplastics, like a coffee cup, a paper coffee cup, which I'm so glad you handed me this ceramic one. A paper coffee cup is lined with BPA and chemical so that the hot water doesn't burn through the coffee cup. Well, that is all leaching into your cup and you're drinking it. And there are studies showing that these can disrupt your endocrine system. It can cause major hormonal abnormalities, yet there's coffee cups everywhere, right? And no one is taking them off the market.
Absolutely. I won't drink out of those cups, but it would be the same thing as us being in a room and someone having a pitcher of coffee and us holding up plastic bags and pouring coffee in and then drinking from the plastic bag. You would never do that. Yet these paper cups that look like they're paper, inside is plastic.
It's plastic.
And you're dumping hot, almost sometimes boiling water in it.
Right. And it's just like melting all that chemical, putting it into your drink, and then you're putting it in your body.
Yes. Yeah. So what can someone do? I mean, if they're going to Starbucks and they're getting these, do they bring their own container?
I bring my own container, and they pour it into your own container. And yeah, it's going to take you a little bit more work to do all this. And you got to wash your thing and keep track of it. You'll lose it, and then you'll be bummed out you lost your $20 coffee cup. But, it's better than drinking plastic for the rest of your life.
Right.
And BPA and other chemicals. So the last thing was skin, and this is super important. We go our whole life pretty much using the same soap. Once we get used to the smell and the feel, we love it, right? Women go many, many years using the same makeup products just because they found the one that looks the best and feels the best on them. You brush your teeth with the same toothpaste forever because it tastes the way you like it. The reality is a lot of these also are made with toxic chemicals. And so what I recommend everyone do is get an app like Yucca or Think Dirty or Skin Deep. These are 3 apps available on the App Store, and scan the barcode of your products, and it'll tell you how many toxins are in that product. And then it'll give you recommendations for an alternative product that you can buy that has non-toxic ingredients in it. And then guess what? You try a few of those, you find the one you like, and then you've switched, and you switch probably forever because you've gone through this process and you know which one you like, and now you have the non-toxic version of your skincare products. And that also adds up to years and years of safety with what you're putting on your skin. So I have another free guide for people, drshah.com/toxins. If you could put that in your show notes. It's a 52-week guide. One small thing you can do to eliminate all the toxins in your life. And just like everything we talked about, you do it one time and it's done and you don't have to worry about it anymore.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing from you most today is it is a switch, but it's not the, oh my gosh, every single day I have to do all these different things to achieve this. It's a one-time
It's a one-time
switch.
Thing. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I want to see that guide.
Yeah. So, just go to my website and get it. And a lot of people put it up on their fridge and they pick the one that they can do that week. Some of them take a little bit more time and energy, like getting a reverse osmosis. Some of them are super easy, like open the windows today. And you'll get 52 of them. And once you get into those habits, it'll change your life.
You talked about forever chemicals and clothes. And I think that to me is probably one of the most overwhelming because if I look in my closet, I mean, there's workout pants, let's say. There just so many different fibers out there. And I think we don't even think about it. It's like, oh, those look good. I'm going to put those on. And yet there are chemicals that we're wearing on our skin. And then when they're getting hot, when there's sun exposure, when we're sweating, some of those chemicals can go into our skin. Right?
Absolutely. That's why humans since the dawn of millennia only wore wool and cotton and that's all we had. And then we started adding chemicals to our clothes to make them.
Why? Why do we add chemicals to clothes?
I think the intentions were good. It was like, they dry faster. They don't get as wet. They don't smell as bad, And so I don't think anyone knew potentially that they were causing harm to our biological systems. But then the real problem is though, once they did know, they're already profiting so greatly from this. In fact, if you look up on YouTube, James Oliver does a great bit on this about PFAS chemicals. He has his show on HBO and it's just mind blowing how they knew, how they did nothing about it. And it's still a problem today. you know?
Yes.
And then because there's such massive profits, they'll maybe change one little chemical bond on that chemical, and they'll put it back on the market once it gets, eliminated by the EPA. And then it's still a problem,
Still a problem, but then they say that chemical, then it's free of that, like BPA free,
right,
or a PFAS free, but there's still PFES. Or
exactly.
It's just like a workaround.
Right.
So speaking of that, because we might as well jump in here, cookware.
Yeah.
Non-stick.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard that if you don't heat it up to a certain point, if you don't scratch it, that it doesn't really leach. Is it true? Not true?
I mean, probably, but it still has the chemical on it. So why expose your food to that chemical?
Right.
Right. Just so you don't have to scrub it as much in the sink,
Yes. I mean, it takes time. When something gets really stuck on, it takes time.
I know. Yeah, life is, life before chemicals was harder than life is today. But unfortunately, these chemicals have added problems in the long term.
Yeah. So something that you talk about, because I know you do a lot of work around longevity.
Yes.
But you also talk about it's not just longevity. It's not how long you live. It's about health span.
It's about health span. Yeah. Health span, the definition of that is the number of years that you live healthy with your vitality, without Alzheimer's disease, without having a heart attack and being unable to move, without having weak bones so that if you fall, you break your hip. Everyone wants the maximum amount of health span in their lifespan, right? The ideal is to live until you're 90 years old, and then the last month you just fall asleep and you just fall asleep and you die in your sleep, but maybe that same month you went on the vacation of your life. That's what everyone wants.
Sounds
right?
ideal.
So how do you add health span back into your lifespan? Because unfortunately, modern humans, even though we're living into our 80s, we're spending the last 20 to 30 years not being healthy, with at least the diagnosis of one disease process. And the accumulation of this is what we see a lot now, right? We imagine a little old man or a little old lady, someone who's frail, someone who can't move around without the help of somebody else, someone who might not be able to recognize their family members, someone who's a burden to their family, right? Both financially and also they need a caretaker. And no one wants to be that, right? But we know that we have the technology to make sure that doesn't happen in our life. And we've had it actually for millennia. If you look at the blue zones of the world, people regularly live into their older ages, being able to dance and play and work and do all these things until their old age, right? And so how do we get modern humans to all be in that state in their old age? And it's by doing all the things that we talked about. Avoiding toxins, number one, and avoiding them not just in the last 2 years of your life, but starting now, starting today. Moving more. We have to get at least 8,000 steps a day in our day-to-day. I don't care if you go to the gym and then you are sedentary all day long. It completely negates going to the gym.
Right.
So yes, obviously you want to go to the gym, but the first priority is move 8,000 steps a day.
Yes.
Right? And then don't eat all this ultra-processed food. Eat whole foods and prioritize your sleep and recovery. Go to bed the same time every night, even on weekends. And if you are overworked and feeling exhausted, take a day off and take some time for self-care. Treat yourself good, and if you do those things day after day, week after week, month after month, you will have the maximum amount of health span.
Yeah, it's so interesting when you're talking about all of this. I was putting myself in a listener point of view, and everyone is sort of all over the spectrum. But thinking about it like, well, okay, I'll get to it next week. And I think there's this tendency to put off health, prioritize self-care and what we need. I mean, you talked about stress. This has a burden that we can't even see, but yet has a tangible outcome at some point. So it's almost like you have to live now for later on, to know that I'm going to make these choices now so I can have a better life later on, which, by the way, is why we're all sort of working too, right? The model is set up to where we're going to work and do all the things that we need to do now so later on we can enjoy life. it's kind of backwards, but it's kind of the same thing, right?
Yeah. I mean, such well said. I mean, that's exactly right. The work you put in today financially leads to a bigger bank account so you can enjoy your life later. The work you put in today for your health leads to a bigger bank account of health so that you can enjoy life later. You need both of those bank accounts full.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. I'm so happy you said that. One thing I want to discuss before we end our time together, we were talking before the show a little bit about this diversion that you took from, normal Western medicine to a little bit more of a functional root cause approach. You have these incredible clinics, which I hope you will just sprinkle a little bit about what those clinics do. But what I asked you was, why can't functional medicine, these other sort of root cause questions mixed with these cutting edge technologies that are coming out that you have and offer, why can't they exist in symbiosis with the Western medical model? Why? Because it seems like right now they're very much separated. Why is that?
Yeah. There's some historical reasons why the Western medicine has kind of poo-pooed and completely distanced itself from root causes and also from exercise, diet, sleep, all of the lifestyle medicine factors. And that's because back in the, I think, 1930s, the Rockefellers commissioned a report called the Flexner Report, where they hired this guy. He was an educator. He went to every medical school in the country, and he created a report about what they're teaching. And then he brought this to the Rockefellers and to the government and said, look at all this crazy stuff people are teaching in all these different medical schools. Some medical schools are focusing on natural medications or natural treatments, and other ones are focusing in on, looking at the gut. And there's so much craziness going out there. What are we going to do about this? And the Rockefellers, because they had interest in pharmaceutical companies, they said that they proposed to the Congress that, we need to go science-based. We need to make sure that every intervention taught at a medical school has a scientific basis to it. Maybe well-intentioned, but also the intention there was the science leads to pharmaceuticals, and then the pharmaceuticals make this massive system a lot of money. Okay. And so what happened back in the 1930s, I think it was, when the Flexner Report came out, is that many medical schools were shut down that taught natural medicine, that taught lifestyle medicine. And instead, everything got focused into advancing the science of drug discovery, advancing the science of technology in medicine. And look, thank God we developed this system. This system has saved a tremendous amount of lives, right? If you get hit by a bus, you get diagnosed with cancer, you have a heart attack, thank God we figured out how to take care of you and keep you alive, right?
Yes.
Thank God we have anesthesia, antibiotics, all these things. However, because the voices of the people that were trying to keep people healthy was silenced back then, now the systems have completely diverged. And what we're trying to do at Next Health is bring this Venn diagram back together. Now, unfortunately, the Western medical system has incentives to keeping people on pharmaceuticals, to having more surgery done. Everyone gets paid a lot more money when all that happens, right? Mm-hmm. So that system was never built to reverse chronic disease or to keep people healthy in the first place. So what we're trying to do at Next Health, what I'm trying to do is just create a new system of clinics that are focused on, number one, keeping you healthy, and number two, reversing chronic disease and getting you off your medications and avoiding surgery. And I think if we can live somewhere in this world where your number one clinic, your primary clinic, was a clinic like ours that keeps you healthy, but then you also have access to this disease care disaster system if you have a disease that needs very specific interventions like surgery or chemotherapy or what have you, you still have the availability to go to there. I think that's the perfect Venn diagram, right? But they are two different systems, and each of us as humans living in this Western society needs to have access to both of them.
I agree with you. It almost seems like it's better to look at preventative medicine first And last resort, very well needed at times, but last resort, then you go to get the thing that you need if all of that isn't working. Exactly. But it almost seems reversed, where it's like you go get the Band-Aids and all the things and the surgery if you need it, the medication if you need it. But then without this conversation of preventative or root cause.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's why we are in the situation that we are right now, that we're spending trillions on healthcare and there's no end in sight, is because we're just waiting for a disaster to happen and take care of it. And we're just putting Band-Aids on it until it gets to that point. And so, you mentioned a few words, preventative medicine, functional medicine. We talked about lifestyle changes. That's what our clinic does. We do I call it medicine 4.0. We first start with preventative medicine. Then we talk about functional or root cause medicine. Then we talk about lifestyle medicine, and then we talk about longevity medicine. And longevity medicine is kind of all the newer technology out there, like peptides and stem cells. And we bring those to people in a very unified clinical format so people can take advantage of all of those. Mm-hmm. And the goal being is to keep you away from disaster care, And I think if you can figure all that out, you're going to be so much better off. Because what I always tell my patients is the side effect of being preventative and being, having functional medicine and doing root cause, the side effect of that is feeling awesome.
Right. It's a great symptom to have.
Right, exactly, right? Like you wake up every morning with energy. You go to sleep right away when your head hits a pillow. You don't put fat on your body. You develop muscle quickly. You don't have brain fog. You can think clearly. Like that's a side effect of being preventative.
That's the commercial that I want to see on TV. Is you go through this type of intervention and the side effects are you'll have more joy. You'll get better sleep. You'll feel better as a human.
I know, right? That's awesome.
I love it. Dr. Darshan, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for the work that you're doing. And this might sound selfish to say, but I am happy that you had to go through the things that you went through of burnout, fatigue, not feeling at your best, so that you can take this diversion and work with people the way that you are now and bringing this to the world. So
me too. I'm very grateful for this journey I've been on, and part of it being you coming into my life and us having this conversation and spreading the message. So thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah.
Everyone, thank you for joining in on another wonderful episode. We will put all the links to what we talked about in the show notes. Make sure you check out those lists. I know I am. As always, please like and subscribe. Honestly, it does more for the show than you know, and we will see you next time. Thanks. There are a lot of things that we talked about in this episode today. It's one thing to hear about this. It's another to take action and create the life that you want. If there's something that you want to create in your life, more fulfillment, more happiness, more joy, getting in touch with your intuition and how to make better decisions, then go to my website, randyspelling.com, and find out more there. Thanks.